Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Denali Borough Assembly. We are here in Cantwell, Alaska on July 9th. To start off the meeting, we have the incident management team for the Bear Creek fire. And I believe they're going to provide us an update. So thanks to y'all for being here, giving us the update, and thanks to all the crews that are working in the borough.
Good evening, I'm Nathan Stevens from the Northern Rockies Incident Management Team 8. I'm from Montana. I was born and raised there, and I've been to Alaska 6 times. The family that live up here, so I'm a little bit familiar, but won't claim to know a lot. So overall in Alaska, Alaska is in a PL5, and that relates to the fire situation and the competition for resources that come in. So there's heavy competition, a lot of fires going on. I'm sure you guys are all well aware of that. That relates to our fire when we're trying to get support and help. So currently there are 22 staff fires across the state of Alaska with 1,276 personnel committed to those operations. 8 of these are out of area teams such as ours. There's additional incoming teams in the Rocky Mountain area. The Bear Creek and St. George fires were ignited by lightning, and fire is currently 30,988 acres. The St. George Creek fire is 42,208 acres, for a combined total of 73,196 acres. With 318 personnel assigned to the both fires, 77 on the St. George fire, and the rest assigned to Bear Creek. Extreme fires during the initial attack significantly impacted local communities that you guys are all well aware, and the critical infrastructure along highway corridors. Fire is being managed through a professional strategy, and in Alaska they do things a little bit differently than we do in the lower 48, where there's certain areas of the fire that are not a full suppression strategy. Right, I think how to say that. The word's a little different where I'm from. But part of the fire on the western end, where there are no values there is, there's no intention of suppressing that end, like in monitor status. It's not likely to impact any home structure values. The current containment on the fire is 17%, and that's of that eastern and northern portion that they're managing that way. Our primary objectives and focus are to protect life and property and the critical infrastructure associated with that fire. Parks Highway being one, the River Valley Electric Association power lines, and the GCI lines there. Those GCI lines and the electric have been repaired. They've moved out of there. The Parks Highway was closed in pilot park for a period of time. It has now been reopened with the reduction speed to 45 miles an hour. The primary concern with that highway being open back up is both public and firefighter safety. People are moving through there, they're traveling fast. There's people entering the roadways, equipment, people. So that's our primary concern. So if you come up that way, please slow down, watch out for folks and fire. Currently, the highway opened Tuesday, July 8th, is when we did pilot cars and initiated the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. The western side, it's going to continue to smoke, and people see visible smoke throughout the rest of the summer on that west side. The evacuation status is there is nobody in go, and there's nobody in set status on the Bear Creek fires anymore. On the St. George Creek fire, that large perimeter of the fire south of Wood Creek is in a go status, and there's no active fire burning in there. North of the Wood Creek River, that's in a set status for about a mile north of the Wood River. And as I'm sure you guys are aware, the governor of Alaska has declared a disaster emergency to enable individuals to access assistance through that program. The Denali Borough is taking the lead on information related to that disaster declaration. So help is available to impacted residents in the Denali borough. And the borough's taking the lead again on that. Affected, we have 102 civilians affected by the fire so far. At 1.81 were in an evacuation status. As I was told, we don't necessarily use the evacuation status because a lot of those people didn't actually leave, so they're still there. So we refer to them affected right now. And that's general overview, kind of bigger picture stuff, and I will refer to Matt Lake and their operations for specific fire line.
Yeah, so just real quick, just kind of what's going on with the fires. You know, with the weather, things are looking good right now. Got some good moisture falling up there today. Looked at some of the weather stations before we left. We were right around half inch of rain in some places. It was still coming down, so that's good news. Most of the efforts right now are just being focused on, you know, where we have clusters of homes, subdivisions, getting everything mopped up. We've got hand crews in there, engine crews. When the fires burn hot like that, you know, the ground fuels, the duff likes to just burn forever. Anybody that knows Alaska knows there's lots of that. So it's just a good opportunity right now. They're in there, sleeves rolled up, just stirring up the dirt, getting moisture on it, getting it cooled down. Because we know when this rain stops, and the sun comes out in 3 days, there's still gonna be heat out there. So we're trying to take advantage of the conditions we got right now and get, you know, as much work as we can done around, you know, the homes and the communication line, that sort of thing that are important to the community. And the communication line is up. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but everything's flowing there. Out at St. George, same thing. Lots of acres on fire, and just doing point protection around people's cabins and infrastructure and that sort of thing. That will be ongoing, and I think like Nathan said, we don't have anybody in terms of evacuation. Nobody's on the go scenario right now. Everything's in the ready scenario, which is good. I think that's back down a little bit. So we'll just see where the weather goes. You know, the next 3 to 5 days, it looks like it's going to warm again, you know, towards the weekend and maybe dry out. So hope to see what happens. Quite certain on the St. George fire, if we get 3 days of drying, there's going to be plenty of fire out there still. So we'll just see, you know, this fire will go how the weather goes, basically. But getting into that season where more rain should be coming, so that's a good thing. Do you have any specific questions you want answered, or in terms of the fires? Okay, well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll move on. We have a public hearing for our meeting tonight. We have 2 ordinances that will be up for consideration. One is to establish a healthcare provider assistance program, ordinance 2505, and allocation from the capital improvement fund for the Clear Fire Road Repair Project, which is ordinance 2507. So if anybody would like to testify to either of those ordinances, please step up to the microphone, state your name, and limit testimony to about 3 minutes per person. And if you don't have testimony on these ordinances, we do have a general public comment that'll be coming up after we call the regular meeting order. So right now, testimony on the ordinances. And for anybody that's streaming online, if you want to join us and provide any comments during the meeting, please do so. The best way to do that is to follow us on the Zoom meeting, which is also on the borough website. Just link in and join the meeting, and then unmute yourself or raise your hand, and we'll get you connected. But if there's no testimony, we'll close the public hearing and start a regular meeting. And to do that, I would ask Mayor Knoll to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Knoll. And then I would ask our clerk to call the roll, please.
Dominic Finale,
Here.
Walt Warner,
Here.
Jeremy Stanfield,
Here.
David Alexander,
Here.
Richard Hammond.
Here.
Krista Zapone. Here. Jared Zimmerman,
Here.
there's a quorum.
And now we'd like to open up the meeting for any public comments. Again, if you'd like to make any comments, step up to the microphone, state your name, and limit your comments to about 3 minutes.
I would love to make a virtual comment. I'm sorry, I can't see everybody there, so if somebody stood up, I'll wait my turn.
Go ahead. Thank you for joining us online.
Yeah, happy to be here. My name is Tessa King Taggart, and I grew up in Denali. I'm currently helping with operations management for our family business, Husky Homestead Tours. We've been operating here in Denali for over 30 years now, and I just wanted to pop on and share our support of the Resolution 2514 and go on record encouraging the Assembly to support and adopt that resolution to make sure that our national park is staffed to its fullest capacity and need, and recognize what a fully functioning and fully staffed national park does for the community, for our locally owned businesses, and for the families in the area. I, both personally and professionally, have felt the effects of some changes in the park's staffing, from my kids not getting to go to the Denali Discovery Camp this year to seeing numbers not where we're expecting them, and hearing from guests that they're have some discomfort and question in the national park. And so I just wanted to share our support of the resolution and urge the Assembly to support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments public comments online? Is that, Ms. DeBlau? Did you have a comment? I see you're muted, but we can't hear you.
Yeah. Not muted anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't show you as muted, but. Okay, well, we will continue on, and then if you want to write something into us, we'd be happy to read it into the record. Or yeah, if you're able to work out your technology situation, then we'll bring you back in. But we do have a public comment here in the room. Okay.
Hello, James Gobbin. We are at 1205 Bog Hole Road out in Dry Creek. Many of you have seen us over the years talking about the commercial use out in the Dry Creek area. Just want to give you a bit of an update as to what's happening this season. Positive note, Frank got the grader and graded the road. He graded the road, the sections that Black Diamond use, not the rest of it. So part of, did they do Pioneer? not Pioneer, but Bog Hole Road, they did that, so that was great. Appreciate Frank doing that. There's now 4 fat trucks running out there. So started off with 2, last season was 3, now there's 4 fat trucks running out on those areas. They're also taking the section line, if this is borough land and this is the south, where the hills go up, that's where the transition is from state land and borough land. There's an old section line there that was not really passable. They've been out there blazing with their fat truck, and it's now a super highway. And that goes out to the old Milliken cabin. That 3-story building out there on Dry Creek, some people call it the Owl House. So they are out there now. So the 10 years that we've been talking about this, there hasn't been any expansion of the trail system out there. So in my mind, I don't know if they're using it yet, but I assume that they will. And so now that's going to add another section or trail to the use out there. So it's right where borough land and state land meet. So I'm sure that they're following the law for the state, but it's right there on the section line. So that's what's happening out there. Denali ATV continues to rent their high performance through Denali Toys. Those are unguided. So anybody can go out and rent an ATV and not be on a guided tour. So you've heard us talk about the issues over the year of safety. So, folks think they're out in the wilderness. So got chuck wagons, we've got guided tours, we've got tourists out there. And last is, we talked about it earlier at the last meeting, camping. So folks are camping, usually it's moose season, but right now it's starting to be a little bit more where Pioneer Trail and Bog Hole Road start. There are people starting to camp there. Not a big deal, but fire season, etc., shooting. So just wanted to give everybody that information. And hopefully, the borough is working on the commercial fees and collections of those so that we can see that in the 2026 season. And I know it's been busy. We've had a bad guy on the run, the fires, but Miss Sapone, your hair looks great.
That's it. Fire, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for the update on all the activities that have been going on. Any other public comment? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Tom DeBlau. I got some place here at Canwell. I got also some place on Kobe Road. And I just want to say we've been update you guys. I've been working on that road out there, as you guys know, and community come through to help us make some progress on the road we're making. It's been nice kind of making that having that road come up to improvement because the fire and everything is certainly getting a lot of use now. But it's coming along. Just want to say appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you. See, are there any other public comments? Okay, well, we will close public comment. If folks do want to still join us and chime in during the rest of the meeting, just join the Zoom
Hello?
meeting. And
Can you hear me now?
got it.
Ah, okay, good evening from my home on Kobe Road. I am Dorothy DeBlau. And I want to tell you I support the 2 ordinances, number 2505 and 2507. And I think both of them will help provide a better quality of life for our Denali Borough. And I just want to tell you that thank you that they're up there and that you're reviewing them. And we just thank you and the mayor and the assembly for the work you do for Denali Borough. And I'm just glad I was able to unmute my phone. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comment. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
There's no other comments, would close public comment and move on to approving tonight's agenda.
Jared, I would just point out that we did receive 3 written
Thank you.
public comments. There's copies over on the table if anyone would like to read them. They're also on our online packet on the for our website as well. And there's a copy in front of each one of you.
Yep, yeah, thank you for that. If you didn't catch that, the online meeting packet has the written comments in it, and if you're following along, all the packet information, ordinances and resolutions are available on the website, and the meeting link.
I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Alexander to approve the agenda and seconded. Any discussion or changes to the agenda additions? Anyone opposed to approving? Hearing none, call that unanimous. No communications or appearances of this tonight. Brings us to the minutes of the June 4th assembly meeting.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 4th assembly meeting.
Secondly. Moved by Mr. Alexander to approve and seconded. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Thanks to staff for putting together wonderful minutes yet again. Anyone opposed to approving? Hearing none, call that unanimous. That'll bring us to reports, and we have a partner report.
Hello.
Hey,
Here for my final partner report, and to introduce the new director for the associated organization. So this is Sarah Thompson. She's my replacement. And we started onboarding last week. So it'll be a little bit of a process to get through all of the organizations, but superstar already. Very excited to have her in this role. I think she's going to do great things and take all of the organizations to a new level with her history and her background. So I'm very happy to have her, and wanted to bring her along today so you all could see her in person and put a face to the name. So I'm gonna screen share with the final report for Discover Denali reporting. And maybe. I don't know how to do it in the browser, or maybe you need to turn it on. Oh, yeah, please. Justin was able to fully hire for the boardwalk this year. I know that was something that we were concerned about. And so we have been rolling there, which is great. And there it is. Thank you. And so the end of the year data, we came in at about 5,000, just over 5,000 contacts. So that includes emails, phone calls, in-person contacts that we had with people. Just over 25,000 print copies distributed between the vacation planner and the on the go and the winter brochure, and 136,000 social media or website touches to individuals. And so that works out to just about 29 cents per contact that we have in terms of the contribution that you guys shared with us through that contract of service. So I think that's a pretty good number with some wide reach. And Sarah's got a great marketing background, so I know she's gonna even improve on that number. But I think the important thing to note here is that visitation numbers for the last 2 years were pretty much flat. We haven't seen a large increase, that we haven't gotten back to that 19 number, right, that we were hoping for. And I think with kind of some of the broader concerns that we have as a nation, with finances, with all these things, right, that there's a lot of unknown. Everybody thought we'd have a bump last year that we didn't see. And mixed reviews coming back from people. Certain sectors are higher in terms of certain excursions or overnight accommodations. But then retail and restaurants have been struggling and are maybe down. So again, a really mixed picture that I we can't give any certainty on numbers for, but that is something that we are seeing throughout the state. In terms of that same mixed message, depending on where you're at. So I think, my best guess is that it's probably gonna be pretty flat again. And for revenue, that's not necessarily the same thing, right? Because numbers were flat, but revenue went up. But at some point that will turn. And so having that long-term projection, 3, 4, 5 years out, if we are flatlining, what that means in 3 or 4 or 5 years is definitely something for you guys to have in the back of your mind and think about. Since everything's all intertwined, right? But I think the other thing, and thank you so much for the resolution you guys passed late last year in regards to the Alaska Travel Industry Association and the statewide destination marketing. That's one of the single most important things that we can do as a state. There is case study after case study of when a state pulls their destination marketing funding or slashes it significantly, what the impact of that is 5 years down the road. And because Alaska is such a long haul destination, because it is so expensive to come here already, if we're not consistently in people's minds on their vacation planning, there's other destinations that offer great things that are much cheaper and much shorter. And so as a state as a whole, we really need to maintain that level of destination marketing that allows smaller organizations like Discover Denali to piggyback on and to have success reaching those people interested in coming. So thank you for that support, and please consider doing that in the future, because unfortunately it seems like a battle that has to be fought every year. Tourism was the only thing that had a positive return on investment from the state of Alaska last year. So it's a no-brainer in terms of what it contributes to the state and local municipalities as a whole. Turn that off. So, on the chamber side, we haven't had much going on at all. So I'll just breeze over that, but there is some news also on the foundation side. EPA was able to have a meeting in regards to the community well project. They've opened up their technical assistance program again. So they're rolling on that. Stephanie and I met with them, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. And they've got all the things they need. And so that program involves all of the engineering design based on the parameters that we give them. And so I'm excited to see that come into play. They even brought in, unbeknownst to Stephanie and I, that contacts with EPA and DNR locally in the state to get them on board. So that's exciting to see that be picked back up and make some progress on that again. And then also wanted to let you know, especially because there's an ordinance coming up about this, but a group of locals, Tom DeBlau, Seamus Siddall, Todd Shorey, John Winkleman, Ann Barker, and myself have paperwork in the queue to create Denali Healthcare Advocates nonprofit group with the intent to support and or create a local healthcare option that is owned essentially, if you will, by people living in the community and invested in the community. So the state paperwork is on its way. We're going to start some fundraising through the foundation to raise the money needed to put in the federal application, which is about $1,000. So that will be popping out on social media somewhere. And if everybody in the borough donates $1, we've got that marker made, and that's the first step into creating local healthcare. So I encourage you to, when you see that coming out, make that donation to the foundation. But we examined a lot of possibilities. When we first sat down and started having those discussions, we decided to tackle things in 3 ways. I had already at that point submitted my interest in being on the board of directors for ICHC. So we made the determination I should pursue that path and take it as far as we could take it. We had different members of the group look at models for what it would cost to start up a clinic and put out RFPs for that. And then looked at other models on options on, existing providers that are already out there that have many clinics. What would it take to maybe invite them to the community? We eventually settled on this path because inviting another entity puts us in the same place that we've been, right? Not a lot of control over what happens, and because we have a lot of really amazing healthcare providers in our community already, that would like the chance to work where they live. And so, the immediate goal is to find funding to get startup costs that would last through at least 6 months, but maybe even a year, so that when that entity is up and running, and all that insurance money or et cetera starts to come in, that it can be funded upfront until the ball is rolling, so to speak. And then the goal would be that at that point it becomes a self-paying entity. But it will take some of that work up on the front end to do that. So that's what I've got for the Denali Community Foundation. And then on just a personal note, I want to just thank Mayor Knoll and previous Mayor Walker, and all the members of the assembly over the last 8 years. The chamber / Discover Denali / foundation wouldn't be here without the support of all of you, through the partnerships, the teamwork, the collaboration, the financial support. So thank you very much. I always felt that it was very much a partnership, and always felt that you lent me your ear and you took my advice, and that meant a lot through the years from all of you. So personally, just thank you for the work you have done, that you've continued to do. And to anyone listening out there in the public, thank you for being engaged and for being present. We need more people paying attention to government on all levels and participating on all levels. And so I encourage everybody to continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, question.
Yeah, I have a question, Vanessa. Thank you for the report. Great, and congratulations on moving on to the next chapter
Thank you.
for you. Question regarding the well. Best case scenario, if everything moved along
Mhm.
as planned from a timing standpoint, when's the earliest that would be?
So this is just for all the technical design, and so they look at the existing well, the existing pump that's there, the anticipated use, number of users, and then they design, and then water table and flow, and then they design a system that would support the anticipated use. I can tell you, and so it's just the design work, and then after that, we could pursue funding or grant opportunities to actually do the work. But our well is very close to our septic. It's right on the line of what is permissible.
Yeah.
So we might have to relocate a septic or move a well. We definitely don't have the flow that we need, especially for people filling up, 100-gallon tanks in the back. So it would require a new pump and a filtration system. So they'll get all the technical aspects of that and submit a report that then would allow us to move forward from there.
Right, last month's meeting, I believe, there was, comments related to the well out at Pankwood Creek subdivision and some of the conflicts with use versus flow.
Right.
So is this project from, specification standpoint accounting for some of the use at Pankwood Creek?
Yeah, so, I asked them essentially to look at like a water wagon type of station like they have in Fairbanks, right, where you can pull up the hose, you put in your money and it's that high flow capacity. So the feasibility on that largely depends on the water table and what that looks like. So they have every specialist you can think of. I think it was like Stephanie and I, 8 people each with a different specialty, right? So they have a lot of work that they'll do to examine all of that. Because also we wouldn't want, if we were to use the lot there at the chamber, right, we wouldn't want that to impact the water table for the people surrounding it. But I think, the community center, the fire trucks, right, they could use this, individuals could use this. There would be a charge for it to maintain the system and the testing requirements and all of those things, but it would be a minimal charge. Not unlike Fairbanks. I lived in a dry cabin at college. I pull up with my 3 5-gallon jugs and put in my couple bucks and,
It's 3.5 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
But there.
Yeah, so it would be open to anybody who, would pay their 3.5 cents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm sure you're gonna get just hammered with questions about the healthcare thing. That is super exciting. I think that the way you're going is what a lot of us are looking for. I mean, we've got some big names on there. That's exciting to to hear for sure. Is this gonna be its own standalone entity, or is this tied to Sadal, or is this just it's a brand new, 100% completely standalone so far?
So the goal of the committee, so to speak, is to secure funding for a startup. So whether that was, we put out an RFP and say, hey, we've got money to get the first 6 months in rent and maybe some remodel costs for a building. And then somebody says, this is what we'd be willing to provide, and kind of that arrangement. So we're looking at it more as, Sadal could bid on that, certainly. Another entity could bid on that, certainly. That our preference is that this wouldn't be something we'd have to maintain over the years as a clinic, right? It would be to gather funds through grant programs or donations, et cetera, to allow somebody to come in with staff and say, let's roll.
Okay, thank you.
Or Tom, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I think there's two models, but that model is one model that maybe puts a little legal protection thing with the RFP. The other model would be that an entity could run a clinic as a community clinic. So I think one of those two options would be the way to go. There's benefits to both ways, I think, but I think the idea is that us as a community has a lot of say who's there, and we hold people accountable to provide the services that we want. See this necessary for the community, and I think it's doable. Absolutely doable.
Well, thanks for picking up the torch. We appreciate it for sure.
I did have a question just to catch people as long as they stay here. We do have the ordinance 2505 on the health care provider assistance program on there. I'm not sure if the foundation, or you folks here have any, comments just kind of on what we've been discussing in terms of also trying from a borough perspective, trying to provide some assistance in that startup realm. Does it seem like what we're contemplating? Is that something that could move the needle for a project like the committee's been discussing?
Yeah, some of the numbers we ran, I think it was around $500,000 for a year, right? For rent, insurance, staffing, all of those things. So it's certainly something that it could help somebody get there to just open the door, right? Until again, that insurance revenue and those fee revenues start to come in and get the ball rolling. I think there's kind of two challenges depending on who is interested, right? If it's local people here, then you're looking at space. So $100,000 potentially could remodel a space to make it suitable, maybe contribute to some basic equipment that would be needed. If it's somebody who's coming in from a clinic, right, then the issue there is probably going to be housing. And so maybe that money would need to be spent in a different way or a different avenue, but we're state paperwork done, but we haven't gotten to that other stage yet. So we've got a lot of different things kind of sketched out. We've got numbers sketched out, but haven't quite made it to that next spot yet.
Thank you.
I forget what my question was.
But yeah, I mean, that's 20% of the way there, right? So definitely would help move it,
Any other partner reports tonight? And welcome and congratulations on your new job. It'd be great. Look forward to working with you. School district report. Summertime.
Yep.
That's the
Super
report.
helpful to pass on his regards, and the one note he wanted me to pass along was that he is tracking changes kind of with the state, the legislature, and the governor's vetoes, and then calling of a special session. So I'll just share that.
Makes for good TV. I mean, we're doing some septic testing. Did I see on the softball field? Dug the hole. Okay.
And things are working very well from a facility standpoint. I'll say the shelter for the Bear Creek Fire at the Tri-Valley School has worked out really well. We hosted a community meeting there. That was well attended, worked out very well. And then the team is based at the Anderson School, and as usual, the school is just perfect for their needs out there.
As long as we don't have fires in the summertime. I hate it. Okay, thank you for passing that along. We have a finance report on the agenda.
I move to accept the finance report for April and May.
Second, moved by Mr. Canali to accept the financial reports.
I have a question. So right now we're sitting at, looking at on the governance budget versus actual. We're sitting at 5.1 million through May of this fiscal year. And went back and looked at June 24, the month, and compared the month of revenue for June, and it was 2.123 million. So if we do that, if June of this year comes in flat to last year with no growth, we would exceed the revenue portion of our budget. As I understand, it would come in at 7.278 against the budget of 7.169. So, I mean, Vanessa, while you're here, any sense of visitation, especially from overnight accommodations, if we're at least flat to last year for the month of June?
Well, I mean, that's how it was, 23 and 24, but room rates increased.
Right.
So, those still have, as far as I know. I would not expect revenue to drop this year, for sure. Just because of that component.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if we're on target to meet our revenue objective for fiscal year 25, so.
And no fire this year either. Yeah,
Mhm.
for, closing them down for a week, so
Right.
that should help for July also.
That's all I.
Yeah, thank you. And then I did have a follow-up from previous partner report. Do the numbers that we kind of see here in Denali, does that track pretty well with what is being seen statewide, as far as you know?
In terms of,
Kind of just being flat.
some areas, yes, some areas, no. Any of the cruise ship ports, they tend to. I would say those of us in that circle tend not to count those, right, because they're not overnight people necessarily. And then there's some changes in some behavior, like when you were talking about camping right down at, off of Otto Lake there, there's a big increase in interest of off-grid camping, right? There's all these new apps and websites where people are coming up and renting RVs but they don't want to be in a campground, they want to go find a spot, and there's apps that'll show you every gravel pit, every back road, everything, and you just keep going and find a spot. Some areas are hit harder by that than others. Some of that's people's comfort level. Some people who come up here are not comfortable doing that. Others very much want that experience. So there's some areas that rely heavily on campgrounds that are seeing declines, but it's just a shift in where people are staying and what they're doing. Some areas are seeing a lower occupancy rate because they've had a huge explosion in the number of rentals available. And so then it's hard to balance out. But I'd say overall, things have remained relatively steady, statewide, with, certain niches adjusting up or down.
Thank you. The motion is to accept.
Yeah, I move to accept this report.
Yeah, we had a second? Any other discussion on the financial? Anyone opposed to receive? Okay, we'll call that unanimous reception. Move on to Community Development Director report. See Ms. Ford online. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good evening. How's my sound?
Good.
Fantastic. Well, a few updates for you here. As far as land use, we've got the 95% design documents back for Antler Ridge. So I'll be taking a really close look at that. and then provide our comments back by the end of the month. So we hope to get a contract in for the trail construction this fall in order to take place next summer. Maybe there might be a little bit of construction this fall. And then some burrow improvements to Antler Ridge. I bought dog waste bags and I installed them. If you go take your dog, please use one of those. They're very popular, so I had to order a lot more. So I'm glad that people are using them. And then I've made some slight adjustments to the memorial bench location for Sam Brown to provide a little bit more of a better view. And the bench that we had originally purposed or purchased did not turn out to be maybe up to the memorial standards. So you might see a few things in motion at Antler Ridge if you go hiking there. Then moving on to subdivision planning in land use, we have closed the public comment periods for the Stampede subdivision survey and also the Yannert subdivision survey. And so we're in the process of analyzing those results right now with the goal of bringing them to the Planning Commission for some more in-depth discussion during the month of August. But we did put those results online. So the online open houses for both of those concept designs for the subdivisions, you can go there and view the survey results. And then an exciting thing is you all approved a standing community and outdoor recreation committee, and we are starting recruitment for that now. So the applications for that committee will be open from, they were open from July 1st to July 31st. We already have 6 applications, but we are mostly having applicants from Healy and McKinley Village. So if you all, anyone there in the audience in Cantwell wants to be part of the Community and Outdoor Recreation Committee, please reach out to me or check out our website or our social media for an application for that. And then we are also looking for folks who are north of the Stampede area. So please pass on that opportunity if anyone's listening and you have an interest in helping shape and guide the future of outdoor recreation and implement our wonderful plan that was created. Please let me know and put your name in. And then my next update for you all is the transportation sector and an exciting development that I'm hoping that you will favorably consider in the resolution before you tonight is our application for a planning grant. And so what we did is partner together with the Alaska Municipal League and Delta Junction and the Copper River Development Association to put together a bundled grant application. It's looking like these cohort applications of small Alaska communities are being more competitive in grant opportunities. And so this is really for us to create a borough-wide transportation plan with a commitment. We're trying to work towards 0 fatalities in the borough on our roads. So I was really excited with this opportunity. The Alaska Municipal League, they led a future cohort in previous grant cycles that has been really successful based more upon bush villages. And now this is kind of an interior Alaska rural community bundle. And I think the great thing is we can work together on our common problems, and then also it's in a more efficient process. And so it would be a match of $23,365 for the borough, and each organization is putting forward that match. And then it would be an 18-month planning process if we were awarded the grant. So that for your consideration. And then a couple more updates with transportation is that we are working on the award agreement with the Denali Commission for a $300,000 award to be used towards separated pathways in the Healy area. So I hope to have a resolution for you sometime soon when I see more of those grant parameters. And then to let you know, we were thinking about applying for a grant for construction for separated pathways, but the state DOT was not able to provide any match in addition to what we were able to bring forward. And I think that this is just a general, I would say, shortfall and in the state's DOT, their ability to provide match. And so we did formally request that match from Commissioner Anderson and heard back about the state budget process. So we didn't apply for construction grants. So right now for the separated pathways projects around Healy, we have planning funds, but we do not have any construction funds for the segment from Suntrana to Stampede Road. And then on to general community development, I'll just say that it was wonderful to see Vanessa here, and I had the opportunity to meet Sarah at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I'm really, really excited to continue that partnership because the grants that I'm about to talk with you about, they really were made possible because of that partnership. And since I wrote my report, we've had some really good movement on the grant front. Our application for a short-term planning grant with the Economic Development Administration, we heard back about that. And right now I am rewriting our grant narrative to align with the current administration's priorities. So we had written the application during the past administration with a set of priorities, and now the EDA has a new set of priorities. So I'll be working on updating that this week. So I'm hoping to hear back in another couple of months, and after we go through the review process, the next stage for the SEDS funding for the comprehensive economic development strategy. And then just earlier this week, I heard back that we have been selected to receive technical assistance through the Minnesota Housing Partnership plan. And so they do not have final confirmation on funding from HUD yet, but they hope to know by the fall. And the idea of that technical assistance is that it would help us complete a housing needs assessment and then create and implement or create a plan for implementing a multifaceted and multi-year strategy to help address whatever housing needs are identified in that assessment that we complete. So super excited that there's some movements on those, where I wrote this report last week and I was like, I don't have any updates, and now I have good news to share for you on these. And then if you're curious, I did include a lot of detail about the EPA Water Technical Assistance Program and scoping for a community well in Healy that Vanessa had described, and what the parameters are to apply for funding for that. So after the meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, there's a great group of folks who are like, are you interested in applying for more grants besides the state drinking water revolving fund? So there is some potential funding with USDA Rural Development and the Denali Commission if it becomes available. So excited that there's some movement, and really just want to thank Vanessa for leading that. And again, looking forward to working with Sarah to move that project forward. And that's it for me tonight. And I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much for your work in the report. See, brings us to emergency manager report.
We have a written report from Emergency Manager Forrest Shreve. I have it in front of me. I did print out some copies, but I did not place them on your desk. So there are some for the audience members here. For those online, it will be added to the packet after the meeting. So I'll just go through and highlight a few. It is a robust report. He has been quite busy, as we all have heard over the last couple of weeks. So in addition to the wildfire response, he provided some other updates. The Cantwell Volunteer Fire Department generator, backup generator, is installed. There's a slight hiccup, it sounds like, and so it's not, automatically starting. So a little more work to do there. Cantwell Volunteer Fire Department went ahead and built an enclosure for it. Tri-Valley School generator, we're still, I think, months out from delivery, but I know Forrest and Curtis are working together to focus on site prep and preparing for that rather large containerized backup generator that'll go kind of at the southwest corner of the Tri-Valley School there. We are going to speak about Kobe Road fire repair here coming up. Marge and Dale Nord have retired, and we are so happy for them, and yet also so sad to see them go. But congrats to their incoming fire chief, Chief Chris Thorne, and then also I understand new EMS supervisor Dana Winery. So thanks to those folks for stepping up And, yeah, congrats to Dale and Marge. We're gonna miss them. The Bear Creek and St. George Creek fires, of course, has quite a bit of information. We heard from Rocky Mountain Incident Management Team 8. They are the second, kind of large incident management team on these fires. I will jump right in. He goes over, we've gone through a variety of evacuation statuses, and I want to just acknowledge how impactful that is on folks when they go from no status to get ready. Here in the borough, we use the Ready, Set, Go program. So get ready is green, get set is yellow, go is red. And that's, we're working towards a standard statewide and also nationwide. So right now, we just changed our statuses back to the areas in the Bear Creek and June Creek subdivision are back in get ready. But we were all the way up to the northern borough boundary with some kind of status at one time. And so that was impactful. This Bear Creek fire has been incredibly impactful compared to previous fires. And so I'll just do a quick summary of our current damage assessment. For the Bear Creek fire, we've confirmed 62 structures lost, 30 were homes or cabins, 14 of those were primary residences, 32 were outbuildings. The St. George Creek fire, kind of on the remote northeast corner of the borough, with the Gold King airstrip. We've confirmed 7 structures lost, 3 were homes or cabins, 1 was a primary residence, and 4 were outbuildings. And so we really are, our hearts go out to our neighbors, friendly neighbors who have been impacted by these fires. We've connected with a large number of those folks. I'd say of the 15 who have lost a primary residence, I think we're almost at 100%. I would say that we've connected with them and connected them with our resources, the American Red Cross, Neighbor to Neighbor, and the, we'll talk about this in a little bit, the State of Alaska's Individual Assistance Program. We're probably at 85 or 90% done, so I would estimate those numbers will continue to rise, mostly in the Bear Creek area. There, we still have some impacted structures that we have not matched up with for a landowner. We're looking ahead to debris removal. That's something the borough can fully support, and we're in concert with Solid Waste Operations Manager Scott Wright and Forrest. We're going to work through that in the next week or so. He goes on to thank all of the folks who have contributed to this response. I'll echo that, and especially borough staff. It's just been incredibly impactful. A lot of time has been spent over the last few weeks. A lot of fewer, less hours of sleep each night, and we should be proud of our borough staff team. I think that is going to, in August 5th, there's an LAPC meeting, so I'll plug that on behalf of Forrest. That's the end of his report.
Thank you. Mayor Noel.
Hey. Mayor Edie. Good evening. Members of the public, thank you for coming. Thank you to Rocky Mountain Team 8 for their fire update report they've taken off. If there are questions, they did leave some maps, I think some public information maps at the back of the room there. I do not have a written report. It's not in your packet, it will be. So bear with me, I'm gonna just go through a few highlights here, adding on to basically what Laura said. But starting with the moment of gratitude, again, the last few weeks have been really tough with evacuation statuses. I want to acknowledge the impacts to the Parks Highway, that we've had this evacuation information line open for over 2 weeks now. And a large number of the calls we get are about the status of the Parks Highway, including up in the Fairbanks and North Star boroughs. So we recognize just how impactful that has been. And it's a reduced speed, as the team mentioned now. And so I'd encourage folks to drive with your lights on and slow down through there. There's still a lot of work to be done. We are making improvements at the Cantwell transfer station. So for those who are down here and might be dropping off brush this week, watch out, there's heavy equipment, and the objective is expand the drop off pad for brush. Moving to the fires, they're started by lightning on June 19th. The 3-day window, there were over 15,000 lightning strikes in the state. It quickly taxed state resources. They ordered teams, more aircraft, more crews, more fire engines. But the large part of the damage from our fires happened in those first 2 or 3 days, unfortunately, when conditions were just right. So we appreciate the Alaska Complex Incident Management Team. They were here for 2 weeks. They helped bring together cooperators. I wanted to acknowledge that. DOT, Alaska Railroad, Usabelli at one time, all of our utilities. There's quite a bit of utility impacts. And then we've connected with folks out at Gold King Airstrip in the St. George Creek area that we didn't know were out there doing a variety of things like mining and including the full-time resident out there who was impacted. And a final note there, if somebody's watching and they haven't talked to the borough and they have property in the Bear Creek or June Creek area, we would like to chat with them. We have our evacuation information line 907-378-7985. And so I'd encourage folks to give us a call. Quick update on staffing. We said goodbye to Selena in the midst of all this. Administrative clerk Selena Mirasol, and we are in the process of hiring for position. So, thank you.
Thank you. Bring us to assembly comments and start with Mr. Hammond.
It's just good to see y'all again, and yeah, the public turnout, it's great, but I'll hold my comments to the end.
Mr. Stanfield.
I'll wait till the end too.
Just a quick appreciation for the firefighter support and all the effort that's going forward. Return things to what we know as usual. Vanessa, thank you for your years of dedication and work on behalf of the chamber and our community. We know you're not going away, but you will be missed, and I hope that you rest your hat well, knowing that you did put quite a bit of things in motion for us, so thank you for that. That's all for now, thanks.
Yeah, I'd echo that for sure, and yeah, thank you to borough staff for, I think, all the work these last couple of weeks. Feels really good just to know that as an organization, as our local government, doing what we can to help keep people safe and help people connect with services and make those connections and yeah, get through these challenging times as well as we can. But it takes a lot of time and effort, and I'm glad that we're able to provide that. And I mean, thanks for the mayor for dedicating staff as much to it as we have been able to. Yeah, thanks to all the firefighters from out of state, away from their friends and family, being here, doing their best to protect our community, and then also to the local volunteer fire departments. I know how busy I am in the summertime, but to see people drop things and jump out and put out spot fires along the highway and check things out and flag for us on the highway when we're going up to the fires and stuff like that. Awesome to see, and much appreciation.
Yeah, same. I just want to thank and show appreciation for the emergency response team, all the various teams, all those fighting the fires and managing the evacuation process. And as Mr. Zimmerman mentioned, ensuring that there's continuity in services that the borough can provide. So thanks for all your hard work. And I know there could be, a great deal more hard work as we get through the rest of the summer if it gets hot again. So anyway, thanks.
I just like to add some appreciation to all that's been flowing around here. Vanessa, thank you. And thanks to everybody you're putting together with your team on the healthcare thing. That's been a headache for the borough for a very long time. So thanks to Tom and everybody else that's getting involved with that. And please, please, please let us know when you need a hand from us, if there's anything we can do to help move things along faster. Because that's something that I think everybody's constituency is asking for. And then on to the borough staff, thank you again. You're always amazing, especially when things get hard. You guys shine the brightest. All the firefighters and people, I think a group that kind of gets overlooked though, it's been mentioned by a couple of people though, is just the borough residents. We have a lot of amazing people here that have really stepped up. You know, we've got the standbys with Neighbor to Neighbor and other organizations, but just random people going out and helping their neighbors and other borough residents has been fantastic. You know, I've been showing videos of people, because there for a while, you know, the firefighters were, you know, they're limited, you know, for their own safety and things to what they can do. They're there for the first few days on Bear Creek, they were in monitor status, and the firefighters were giving their equipment out to borough residents who were then going and fighting fires. And I mean, I've got video on my phone of people hosing down trees with, you know, the firefighters pumps while somebody is hosing them down because they're not very well protected and they're burning on one side and they're getting watered on the other side. Some really amazing things have happened. Just people trying to save homes and property. And I'm very grateful for the people that stepped up there. So that's all I've got.
No ordinances on the agenda for introduction tonight, but we do have two ordinances for consideration. First one is ordinance 2505 to establish a healthcare provider assistance program.
Speak to that. So we were originally going to discuss the changes that we had discussed at the last meeting. But because of the fire, we're unable to do so. So I'd like to make a motion to postpone this ordinance until the next meeting. And that way Amber and Allison and I can get together and incorporate those changes that we discussed last time and present you with something a little bit more complete, as opposed to my scribbling right here.
Yeah.
So I second that.
Moved by Mr. Alexander to postpone to the next meeting. And a second. Any discussion on postponing?
Seem like a good idea?
Seems fair.
Okay, anyone opposed to postponing to the next meeting? No, hearing none, we'll call that unanimous. Look forward to continuing the discussion next month.
That work for you, Amber? Okay.
We could postpone it next month too.
No, we don't. I was hoping, you know, that we get this passed, but we're very close. I think next month, well, it's not gonna do that. Next month, we're gonna be there.
All right. That brings us to ordinance 2507, an allocation from the capital improvement fund for the Clear Fire Road repair project.
I will make a motion to approve ordinance 25-07.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Apone to approve, and second. We don't know.
We posted invitation to bid 25-01 for this project. We have approximately $190,000 in public assistance funding from the state of Alaska. This additional amount will allow us to do the two additive alternates of that project that are not eligible for state funding. So, yeah, appreciate your support in this. We've got ourselves a project. The passage of resolution 25-11.
Was there some impact from the use of the road during this fire?
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't tell you how much what that impact looked like. Our residents probably could. But I do know they did quite a bit of structure protection, structure preparation on the north side in anticipation of the south winds and the fire continuing. Right. So I don't know if it's in worse shape after the firefighters.
I can't say a whole lot about the north-south running roads. Kobe roads certainly has an impact to it. But I would suspect a project road,
Want to move there.
One additional comment, we've waited for the, fire response to finish before we proceed with this project, and there will be, suppression repair, fire suppression repair or something like that will take place, and so the team will facilitate hopefully returning the roads, trails, bulldozer lines to a station that in concert with the state of Alaska.
And that's what occurred the last 2 years ago, correct?
Yep. Yep.
And so go ahead, keep, but with this, we'll be looking at next year.
We believe we can complete this project this summer.
Okay, so
That's the goal.
good.
The motion is to approve. Other discussion? Not, I would ask for a roll call vote on approval.
Walt Warner,
Yes.
Richard Hammond,
Yes.
Dominic Canelli,
Yes.
Krista Zappone,
Yes.
David Alexander,
Yes.
Jeremy Stanfield,
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman,
Yes.
unanimous.
Ordinance is adopted. That brings us to resolutions. And first, well, here's resolution 25-11 to award the invitation to bid 2501 contract for the Clear Fire Report road repair project.
Make a motion to approve, resolution 25-11.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Palm to approve and seconded. Mayor Noel?
I'll just highlight, we had, again, invitation to bid 25-01. And we had two really competitive bids, which we were glad to see. And CLI Construction was a successful bidder and at a price we can afford. So we're glad to, looking forward to working with CLI on this project.
Any discussion? I would ask for a roll call vote on approval of ordinance 2511.
Jeremy Stanfield,
Yes.
Richard Hammond,
Yes.
Krista Zappone,
Yes.
Dominic Canelli,
Yes.
David Alexander,
Yes.
Walt Warner,
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman,
Yes.
unanimous.
That ordinance resolution's approved and brings us to resolution 25-12, appreciation for Dale and Mark Henry.
I move to approve resolution 25-12.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Canali and seconded. Now I was wondering if you want to read this one into the record, please.
Yes, I would. Resolution extending appreciation and gratitude to Dale and Mark Nord for the time and energy dedicated to providing emergency response in the Denali Borough. Whereas Dale and Mark Nord began their volunteer efforts in emergency services in 1979. And whereas for more than 40 years, Dale and Marge have provided an exceptional level of care in a vast, remote and demanding section of the Parks Highway and the Denali Highway. And whereas they have provided training, encouragement, and mentorship to numerous emergency responders throughout the Denali Borough. And whereas they maintain an immaculate fire hall and emergency response equipment, and I can vouch for that. And whereas in 2014, Dale and Marge were the first Denali Borough Mayor's Community Service awardees. And whereas in 2025, Marge was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award at the EMS conference by the Interior Region EMS Council. And whereas their knowledge and example have proven to be vital to the level of emergency services throughout the Denali Borough. Therefore, be it resolved that the Denali Borough Assembly extend its appreciation to Dale and Marge Nord for their service, contribution, and sacrifice given to the people of the Denali Borough. Be it further resolved that the Denali Borough Assembly wishes Dale and Marge the best in all their future endeavors.
Thank you. Any discussion?
just, if I could just emphasize, their contribution to all the other departments too, and, especially Marge and her willingness to train, EMTs over the many, many years. I wonder how many EMTs she's trained and, shepherded through the certification process. So it's been far reaching, and they've provided mutual aid to all the other departments since their inception, so really appreciate them.
I would ask for, yeah,
I've been with Martindale since 1984, 85. I'm still there, but what I want to add is the sheer number of hours involved. When we get a call on the radio, and I just did this with Marge the other night. It's an automatic 12 hours without fail. No pee breaks, no stops, it's 12 hours. You know, and it's like, you think of all the calls that Marge made, and mostly Dale was with her 90% of the time. That's a lot of hours, you know, that's 2 calls a month, 3 calls a month. And it's an automatic 12 hours. We go here, we go all the way to Eastport, we pick up a car wreck, we take them all the way to Fairbanks. And come all the way back, and it's a minimum. It's not a quick turnaround, you know, you're 2 hours from Healy to Fairbanks. We're 6 hours, no matter what we do, because we have to go south, then back and stop, get fuel. So it was a lot of hours. And then I also, to the assembly, and maybe Chris can take this and roll with it, I want to put a plug in. We have to start working with our employers in this deal, because when I was with the state, and then the employer I have now, I had a lot of latitude, and Dale was with that. We could go on all these calls. Employers are not that helpful anymore. You know, and that's one of our, you know, there's like people like, we got jobs. They don't get the time off because it takes the time off. And if I got home at 4 a.m, my boss would be like, just go get some sleep, come in at noon and tear your leave slip up. This is what we do for the public. You know, and I remember Valley used to be that way, because Leo, Amplify remembers Leo Lawyer. You know, and Leo was on our department, you know, down here in Campbell, you know, because he was a mechanic. It's like, that's a shameless plug that I want to put in. It's like, we need to work back to our employers and find out, it's like, what can we do to get people that they can do this? So with that, I thank you for the resolution. Marge and Laura have been great to work with. You know, and we've done a lot of stuff together the last 40 years.
thank you. Other discussion? I would ask for a roll call vote then on approval of resolution 25-12.
Richard Hammond,
Yes.
David Alexander,
Yes.
Dominic Canale,
Yes.
Jeremy Stanfield,
Yes.
Walt Warner,
Yes.
Krista Zapone,
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman,
Yes,
it's unanimous.
resolution's approved. Brings us to resolution 25-13, support the application for the Safe Streets for All planning grant.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 25-13.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Zabone and seconded to approve resolution 25-13. No.
I see Stephanie is still online. I think just a couple things I'd highlight is this planning grant will lead to a comprehensive, kind of roadway safety plan, and then that increases our chances of being eligible for future implementation grants, which Stephanie spoke to earlier. We asked for match funding. Those implementation grants are much higher dollar amount projects. So this does require a $23,000 match that we anticipate paying out of the 26 borough budget.
So we pay $23,000, and this organization gives us a report that gives us slightly preferential treatment in applying for more grants.
Stephanie could speak to, it's more than just a report. And I think part of the process there's value in the process and there's value in the product. And so, Stephanie, do you want to, you know much more about the products there.
Yeah, so I can answer a little bit that more context I didn't provide in my report. So what this would generate is a comprehensive safety action plan for transportation across the borough. And creating a transportation plan is already a goal in 2 of our planning documents. So it's a goal of our comprehensive plan, and it's also a goal of the economic and land use development plan, is to create a borough-wide transportation plan. And, I had this question when I'm like, why do we have all these planning documents, Teresa, when I began my job? It's like, oh, we're going through this process. And you're more likely to get funding for a project if it's included in a plan. So if we have a plan that documents community support for a project or an improvement, then it's more likely when we're going to seek funding from outside funding sources that they will go ahead and fund that project. And it's kind of like the first step in a planning process, and then moving on to design and engineering, and then seeking out your construction funding. So the Safe Streets for All grant program in particular required a planning document that met certain requirements in order to apply for the implementation grant. And what we were kind of doing when we had the theory of applying for construction funding is we were piecemealing together 2 plans to try and make everything work. And so I think what this would do is it would help us identify our gaps in our transportation safety. So say, for instance, we have the Healy Pedestrian Safety and Transportation Plan, but we don't have a similar plan for Cantwell. And then also in our PEL, which is our Public and Environmental Linkages Study that the DOT did, it's along the Parks Highway corridor, but it really only runs from Stampede to Cantwell. So it leaves out the northern half of the borough along the Parks Highway. And so this would be, again, filling in all the gaps that we have in our planning documents, and then setting us up for success for these larger projects, and being able to advocate for ourselves with DOT as well about how this project has support included in your STIP or your statewide improvement plan, please. Happy to take more questions though.
I'd like to kind of understand just a brief history. I guess mostly in my head wondering, like, is this something that's just come up? Is this something we've tried before? Reference the comprehensive plan that was 10 years ago. The land use and economic development plan from 7 years ago. Is this a new push because of the trails that we're looking to do and things like that? Or is this just something that kind of you exposed and found and like, let's do that? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I think what it is it's been a goal that was identified in the comprehensive plan and that land use and economic development plan, but the borough didn't really have, I would say, the capacity to implement. And so with the community development director position being new, I think that there were several priorities that people have worked through. And so looking at, one of our best partnerships so far I see in the borough is working with the Department of Transportation, and we've been very successful. So building on those successes and then identifying, some of our needs. And I think, one of the things that, came to me was when we were looking at, say, for instance, the Separated Pathways project, which are identified in our planning documents. There's been talk, say, for instance, in the community of Cantwell, there's been school projects about that, but that doesn't equate to being in a formal document. So when we look to have, these discussions and seek funding for things that we know are a community priority, it's great to have them in a plan. And I mean, I could go on and on about the comprehensive plan too, but it's, some of these things that we know that we all want, like it would be great to have a community well in Healy. Is that documented in a plan anymore? We have healthcare challenges in the borough. Is that documented in a plan anymore? And it was great that we had, say, for instance, using healthcare as an example, Teresa was able to recruit a grad student to do that plan for us for free. And so this is, I would say, not something that is new, but something that hasn't been achieved yet, but the borough has identified as a need for a while.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just think it's a good idea to figure out exactly, like, I appreciate added context and things. Looking at the finance report, our revenue is not really exceeding our expenditure. And I think it might be smart to make sure, right, we still have money and we can spend it, but make sure that we're getting a lot of bang for buck. If you think about, we're paying $23,000, what's the total outlay of the grant that the contractor receives?
Total project cost of $350,000. So we're leveraging that modest borough investment, and this will take coordination on, I think, Stephanie's part especially, but we're leveraging that in our partnership with the Alaska Municipal League to get this larger this planning effort accomplished. And I think if I could add one more thing, as far as context goes, the Native Village Council here in Canwell has long supported separated pathways, sidewalks to get people off the highway. And to Stephanie's point, that's not documented in a plan. So we can document that in this plan, much like the Healy Transportation and Safety Ad Hoc Plan accomplished. And then it just levels it up, it makes it solidifies it, takes it through this robust public process.
I'm just curious, what the provider, the contractor, whoever, what they actually do, I guess is my thought. You think about, my own capabilities, and what I could do for $350,000, that would be one heck of a plan. Are we talking about a bunch of surveying and like what is actually going on? Or is this just somebody on Google Maps saying, oh, hey, that's a tight corner. Maybe you guys should look at, widening the radius of your road here or something like that. I don't know. Government contracts are just famously lucrative. And I don't know. I don't necessarily oppose this at all. I just would like to know where our money's going. That's all. Thank you, Stephanie.
And this would be a partnership with Delta and Copper River as well. And there's a kind of a joint match from those communities as well that would go towards the overall match for the grant.
So the 300,000 is really split between the three communities, so it's really the 23,000 that we're paying and they're all paying, but we get the $100,000 worth of planning.
Yes, that's absolutely correct, Dave. And again, this was an effort by the Alaska Municipal League to bundle these applications to make it more efficient. And it's, I guess, I don't want to promise this, but think about in your plan, a plan, maybe the level of the community and outdoor recreation plan. So Alaska Municipal League has done this in multiple communities across Alaska, and has professional contractors. They have a developed process. They're very efficient.
I feel like the plans allow us to go forward. It's bad not to have a plan. The plan it's good to have a plan. I think it's a general rule.
It would be great for me at the end, if the plan took into consideration the whole range of roads, like partnership with DOT is good and we have the Parks Highway. There's lots of big projects get thrown at that, but a lot of the issues that we have are on the far other end of the spectrum. We've got the folks from Kobe Road here throwing whatever they can at it, and if it can address some of the lesser developed areas and that aspect of roads and transportation, I think is going to be pretty huge. And that's a place we see a little bit of a benefit that we wouldn't see with some of the other planning efforts that have, taken place to date and have a little bigger funded partners.
Would our road standards be included in this plan? Like as sort of a component of it?
let me understand more about your question. Are you asking if the plan would develop the road standards, or are you asking if the road standards that you approve as an assembly would be included in the plan?
The latter, yeah, what would, I mean, assuming that if it's a comprehensive plan, the road standards would be part of that transportation comprehensive plan, maybe?
I'm gonna say I don't have an exact answer for that, Dave, so I don't want to promise it, but you know what I can do is I can bring up some plans that have been created and share those as example products if you're all interested. I don't have right now exactly which plans have been created by the Alaska Municipal League Partnership, but there's several examples of Safe Streets for All plans. I think the Matsu Borough is done with theirs. Kenai Peninsula Borough has one that just went through public comment this summer. And so I guess I don't want to say yes, Dave, I think so, but I don't want to commit to that and be ignorant.
Yeah, I was just wondering, and, you know, it would be nice to see what the what the project is we're aiming for, but, you know, I support this resolution, certainly at this moment.
As for road standards, where, do we know where the planning commission is there right now tackling? Road standards for the borough, so.
Yeah,
We
that's
wouldn't
what,
want any of this to interfere.
no, I was assuming that it would be the road standards that the planning commission approves and that we will eventually approve.
Right, right, but do we know where they're at?
I will say I'm not prepared to,
Okay.
I did offer to get the report from the planning commission at their last meeting, but I'm not prepared, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I would imagine that this initiative is geared separately. It seems like it's geared to provide alternative ways for pedestrians to get around off the roads. In the grand scheme of things, and, you know, this, just to clarify, like, this is the beginning point, right? It's to pull the resources, and then we'll get some information out of this. But it's not gonna include any of the actual, you know, if needs to be a separated pathway here or whatever, it's just gonna give us the information that then we can use down the road to decide what to do and how to do it. Will need to be separately funded, I assume, yeah.
We've got several other communities involved, municipal league, like I'm sure it's all plenty of value packed in there. Ms. Ward, I would love to see an example of one of these plans. And I don't know if it would mess up the process at all, but I would kind of like to see one of those. You know, I don't know if we need to vote on this right now, if we could postpone it, or if we postpone it, it would mess up the other communities.
Yeah, is there a time consideration for approving?
So, we have already submitted the grant application, but I don't think that we would hear back anytime soon. So I would say that, it's probably, you know, several months away, given like how long it's taking to process federal government grant applications. And so we can definitely, get you one of the plans. I can screen share right now one of the plans from the Kenai Peninsula Borough, but I'm not sure who was the consultant on that. So I wouldn't want to say this has been produced, you know, via this cohort method. So I'm, you know, flexible if you all want to see an example right now, or if you'd like to have me provide that at a later time for your consideration.
Well, we have a motion to approve is on the table. Motion to postpone would supersede, and we could.
If there's no super tight time consideration, I would make a motion to postpone. And then we could look it over. Like I said, I don't oppose it, but I do want to see what it looks like.
But I mean,
I guess make a motion to postpone for what, we've already submitted the application.
and this is the resolution, like, there would be an actual funding ordinance when it comes to spending the money, the allocation ordinance, I mean,
You know, it would be in the budget.
would be in the budget.
Yeah, we expected to provide this match out of the 26 budget.
So it's in the budget we passed.
It is.
The money.
And code allows for us to, apply for grants and then seek kind of approval. It requires the assembly to approve grant applications, but it can be retroactive. And so if you were to say postpone and then not pass, I think we should pull our application without that support. So.
Let's just vote on it, but if Ms. Ford, if you wouldn't mind providing that, I just want to see it. We've got other communities in on it, we've got municipal league, I don't have that big a trust issues.
We have found the limit.
That's good. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind emailing out, links to some of the other plans, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. I can definitely do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would ask for a roll call vote on approval of resolution 25-13.
There you go.
Broke it.
You wanna do that with? David Alexander,
Yes.
Jeremy Stanfield,
Yes.
Richard Hammond,
Yes.
Krista Zapone,
Yes.
Dominic Canali,
Yes.
Walt Warner.
Absolutely.
I thought you were gonna have fun.
I thought he was gonna do it.
Jared Zimmerman.
Yes,
Thank you. It's unanimous.
you're right. Resolution is adopted. Brings us to resolution 25-14. Support for the National Park Service. I'm employed by the National Park Service. I declare that conflict and ask to be excused from voting in consideration on this one. Okay.
I'll go ahead and move to approve Denali Borough, Alaska Resolution number 25-14.
Seconded.
Okay, resolution 25-14 has been moved to approve by Mr. Canali and seconded. Any discussion?
I fully agree with the resolution.
I have a couple of amendments though.
Okay.
If you look, if you have the resolution in front of you, the third whereas, this is a minor factual amendment. I'd like it to read in 2022, the National Park Service celebrated the 150th anniversary of Yellowstone National Park. And currently manages more than 430, blah, 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 that would remain the same. The point being, the National Park Service didn't celebrate its 150th anniversary. But it did celebrate the 150th anniversary of Yellowstone. The National Park Service was not formed until 1960, the year before Mount McKinley National was entered into the system. So I just wanted to factually make that correction. And then the second amendment, I actually go ahead and
We do that.
do that.
One
Or
at a time,
we
remember?
vote on them one at a time.
Hold at the same time.
Okay.
One of the comments, written comments address this as well. And I don't know if we'd be able to fit it in here because this is, supporting funding, but and I doubt there's anything we're gonna do to affect the management of the Park Service, but these the layoffs and the furloughs and all of these position cuts and everything, I think really highlighted how silly it is for somebody in Washington DC to try and manage the park here to like the level that they are, to like greeters and stuff. Boy, I don't know if we could put some language in there, just like, hey, try and give us a little bit more local control. I don't think it really fits in this, but.
Yeah, I think if I may, in the therefore section where we're requesting the delegation to take all practical steps to resist cuts to Alaska-based National Park Service staff, support unfreezing already allocated federal Park Service grant funds for Alaska communities, and sustain the Park Service budget in the congressional appropriations process. I think that goes to an individual who just wants to cut the level of cuts that they do under any administration. It should be done at the congressional level. That's what the appropriation process is for. So I think it may address part of their comment, but I don't think we'd be
Yeah, I don't,
in a position to manage local management decisions.
I just wish we could, because I think it just really highlighted how. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's been silly.
This one, so. But I do have an additional whereas, as the final whereas. So as a final whereas, specifically Denali National Park and Preserve is a vital component of the Denali borough's economy and supports a myriad of businesses and livelihoods of many of the Denali borough's residents. Therefore, be it resolved. So that would be an additional whereas to make it a little bit more Denali specific regarding potential impacts and the importance. As if you've read through the public comments and the one that was done online earlier, all kind of speak to the importance of the national park, Denali National Park specifically to our local. And with that, do I make a motion to approve the amendments?
Yeah.
I move to approve, the two amendments as dictated. Second.
Okay, any other discussion on this resolution with the amendments?
Yeah, I would just like to, I guess, kind of understand better what impact something like this can have. Like, there's clearly a lot of support for it, but I guess I don't really understand, like, what happens to this resolution we do, that we send it off to.
Part of it is, but also the, I forget the guy's name with the
Jim Adams,
Jim Adams.
Yes.
Who was,
National Park
so
Conservation Association.
he's also going to get this and combine it with,
So it allows us to show our support collectively
and then he presents it as well.
Right, so
And
he's
advocate on
collaborating
part
with
of that.
other borough governments for similar resolutions, if not identical.
Because at the DCC meeting, he spoke
Okay,
and was asking for local governments just in general to pass this sort of resolution in order to combine the whole thing and make him more able to advocate on the park's behalf in general.
and I'll also add, I think back in March, when some of the cuts were initially communicated, we did have a public comment at our March regular meeting from I assume a Park Service employee, but I don't know for sure, asking the assembly to draft a resolution of this nature. So I think this also goes to following up on that public comment request.
All right, with no other discussion, I would ask for a roll call vote on approval of the amended resolution. Like, I have to ask for it.
Well, you need to vote on the amendment.
Okay, that's all those in favor of the amendments.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now I would like to have a roll call vote.
Did you were you able to get those?
Well, it's recorded, and then I was gonna see if I could take a picture of whatever
Yes, you
you wrote
may.
down.
Yeah, at great risk.
Okay.
Am I right?
No problem. All right, Richard Hammond,
Yes.
Jeremy Stanfield,
Yes.
Walt Warner,
yes.
Dominic Kennelly,
Yes.
David Alexander,
Yes.
Chris Zapone.
Yes,
It's unanimous with one recused.
Brings us to other business. And first up is a declaration of disaster for the Bear Creek Fire.
Is there action needed?
And there's a disaster declaration on our table, that's. And. Assembly declaration.
So as I understand, maybe. Okay, so as I understand it, it's an affirmation. I declared a local disaster in the week following the Bear Creek fire start. The governor followed and requested that the state declare a disaster for two reasons. To open up the individual assistance program to help our impacted residents, and to open up the public assistance program to help the borough recover costs, eligible costs in our response. And the borough has experience with the 2023 Clear Fire in going through that public assistance process. And so we asked for debris removal help and what we call access restoration, which is making sure the roads, doing as much as we can to make the roads passable. So, and it also allocated up to $30,000 from the disaster contingency reserve fund for response costs.
That's the borough disaster.
That was my declared disaster.
Yeah.
So that has to be affirmed by assembly action within a period of time, I believe. Or it just needs to be affirmed. Saying that right?
So your declaration, provided access to those funds. This affirmation, if we were to utilize those funds, would just support the borough's use of the funds and that are expended from here on out.
Okay.
By code, it's not necessary that you declare this, since the mayor already did, and yet it just adds support, basically for the next audit, just because we don't use this fund very often. If we were to use the fund, it would just be additional support.
And so this is, it's not a.
It's something we vote on.
Yeah, is it something we vote on? I assume. I mean, it's not an ordinance, it's not a resolution, it's
It's
not
a
a.
declaration.
The declaration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Huh?
Approve.
I believe that it would be, we declare the disaster.
I move to approve the declaration of the local disaster due to dams caused by the Bear Creek Fire and St. George Creek. Second.
Moved by Mr. Canali to approve the declaration as presented and seconded. Any discussion on the declaration itself? You see any other? Is there anything else the assembly can do to support? Kind of still kind of in the middle of the response and everything, but. It's not looking towards like being prepared for next time. Whatever it is, or lesson learned from last time.
I think access, we have the 2022 Clear Fire, we have fire business on your agenda for tonight. So I think access restoration is going to be a big focus of ours. Debris removal is going to be challenging, but I think we'll keep the assembly posted and let you all know what action we, collectively take to help our folks recover from this. There definitely will do an after action review. But yeah, we very much are still in response mode.
Flashbacks to COVID. We had the time we had to like renew a disaster declaration every once in a while.
Oh, that one affected because we were operating outside of what code said we were supposed to operate within.
Yeah.
At that point, you were supposed to always meet in person.
Yeah. Right.
And telephonic participation did not count.
Okay.
And so that one was a little procedural in the way we were operating. So that one did come out as an ordinance, which was tricky, but we made it work and we took care of things later. And we have virtual meetings now because of it, and I feel like we have a greater reach as a result.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, yeah.
It was a bumpy ride, but I think in the end, it's okay.
Some of us are still here. Okay, so we kind of open-ended. I just want to make sure that whatever we're declaring, as long as it takes to do the cleanup or whatever it is, I want to make sure that staff has whatever support or authorization they need from the assembly to go ahead and follow up and continue to offer that support. Recognize that just because the fire's out, the disaster is not gonna be over, in there for a long time, so. Just, yeah, I would provide that message of support, I guess, from the assembly as we discuss. Thank you for putting this together. Other discussion? All in favor of supporting the declaration, approving? Unanimous. Bring this to other business, and we do have four, looks like liquor license renewal applications from businesses within the borough that would be up for consideration.
Make a motion to non-protest the 4 renewal application for alcohol marijuana licenses. I require there's 2 of them are renewals,
Yeah.
one's new,
Oh,
and one is an expansion.
no, thank you.
That makes it very to our.
Do we have details on the expansion?
In the
And
online
the new
new
one,
package.
which is the new one?
The new one is the Denali Crow's Nest, and the expansion is the McKinley Creekside Cabins. The expansion, I think, as I read through it, is just to be able to allow their guests to be able to like walk from the cafe to their hotel room.
With their,
On their terms, yeah.
okay. But they're not opening up a new
No.
venue for the sale of alcohol.
And the Crow's Nest, I thought they had one.
I think the Overlook Bar and Grill may have been under different ownership, or then I
Yeah.
understand they're no longer in business, so maybe the license didn't get transferred over.
Yeah, it's that, their application got started over a year ago, so I'm
Oh.
sure it's just.
I don't know, I may not be correct with that.
I don't think that changes the motion, all right? No. The
No.
motion to non-protest.
No,
And second, is there a second?
second,
Okay. All in favor of not protesting? Unanimous. Brings us to public comments. Public comment online?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I have 3 things. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for ordinance 2507 and resolution 2511. Thank you so much, and we look forward to this next step in road improvement. The second thing was I wanted to make a comment on, it was talked about what the impact of this season on Kobe Road. And yes, there was a lot of traffic out here. And they provided structure protection for every place out here, you know, with the tanks and the hoses and sprinkler system. And they checked in on us and talked with us, and it showed again the importance of a good road surface at a time like this to help the movement of all the equipment that goes up and down the road. So we're just really thankful for it. And one nice thing, when they emptied the tank out, you know, it has not rained forever, and we have garden out here, and they put all that water on the garden. So that was very nice. And then just one other comment about thinking over, it isn't over yet, they say, the fire, but tonight it is raining and that gives you hope, you know. But just a general thank you to the mayor and the staff for watching over all the Denali citizens during this time, and for all of us, really, for all of us. You know, we were all involved in some way. We were probably praying, caring, sharing, reaching out, helping out, and it has to continue till it's over. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no other public comment. We'll go to assembly comments. Start with Mr. Warner.
Well, hopefully we get through this fire. Thanks everybody again for everything that people are doing to help out with that. Fish are running now, still summer. I hope everybody can get out and enjoy it, catch some fish and enjoy the beautiful place we live in.
Yeah, I just want to say a good meeting. I appreciate all the discussion. Highly valuable, and want to thank the public for turning out, those who took the time to show up, drive down here to Cantwell to attend in person, and those online who took the time to call in or listen in. We appreciate that. Certainly, the more public involvement we receive, I think goes a long way to help guide us towards what we hope are proper and well-informed decisions. So thank you. That's all I know.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody, for coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys for tonight's meeting. To the Gobbins, I know it's been a slow, painful road for you guys with this commercial use thing, but Mayor Noel and I have made effort, a couple meetings. We do have a kind of a plan that we are hopeful to present to the assembly in the near future. That being said, the fire and the emergency, obviously, it's kind of curveballed that timeline. We do hear you. And we do appreciate your patience. It's good to see you guys. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for everybody that's come, and thank you very much to the firefighters who are helping to keep us safe, and to the borough staff for all the work that I know they put in to facilitate their efforts.
Yeah, echo all of those. It's nice to see the borough come together in time of need. Get to see it all around, everywhere you go. And just hope everyone stays safe and get this fire behind us.
Mr. Hammond?
Okay. First of all, I'm so excited to see that the road maintenance is all passed, and I'm very much looking forward to the hard work that David's going to put into the healthcare provider assistance fund. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that one comes out. I got some thanks in line for all the firefighters doing all the hard work out there. I can really appreciate the job that they're doing. Especially the Rocky Mountain team. I'm glad they could make it out there and make it to our meeting. I did appreciate that also. I do have a thanks for the time and service that Selena Marisol put in for the borough. Thank you very much, and we're going to miss her. And a big thanks, especially to Marge and Dale for their time and service that they put into the community. So thank them very much. That's it.
Any go backs, Mayor Noel?
I want to thank you.
Any go backs on public comment? Okay, next meeting will be Wednesday, August 13th. That's the Denali Borough office. 6 p.m. And with that, I can envision the motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Right. Remember, ringtone was already stuck in my head.
Get your attention.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah.